I pressed start, it recorded, I forgot to plug in my microphone. Seems to be a theme on BookTube right now. Hey everyone, Fina here from Fina Reads, and welcome to my 2022 preview and 2021 review series that will happen throughout December and January. And of course, December will focus on the 2022 preview, and January will focus on the 2021 review. Because, I'm sorry, I'm reading till the end of December 31st, which will be 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Yeah, I'm not staying up all night. There might be another 5-star top 5 contender on the list, so I can only do my 2021 top and whatnot and best and whatnot after I read all the books in 2021, right? If you haven't seen the intro for this series quite yet, you can check that one out. I'll put that up here. And today is the first video where we're actually talking about some exciting books that I'm planning on reading in 2022. In this video, we're talking about the books that I'm really excited about reading in 2022, with the focus on the books that are already out there in the market, that are already published. There will be a separate video for anticipated releases and those that I'm really excited about reading. That is on December 31st. And I was kind of trying to go for the 22 books in 2022 because, BookTube FOMO, I don't know. But I ended up actually with more books. So let's just jump into that. One of the things, because it is more than 22 books that I want to talk about, is I'm trying to keep my rambling at a minimum and focus on the types of book that I'm reading and not in-depth analysis for all the 22 books. I think we will still sit here by tomorrow. I put them into 3 categories though. And I want to start with series that I already started that I want to continue, the ones that I'm really excited about. Obviously, there are much more series that I'm in the middle of than I'm going to mention right now, but these are the ones that I really want to focus on. Then I have a category for new series to add because, I'm not reading already enough. And then standalones. Oh, I focus on fantasy and sci-fi in this video. Series number 1 is Dune. I want to continue Dune. Well, I'm actually going to restart Dune, and as part of a read-along in June with Leslie by The Nerdy Narrative. She wants to start reading Dune. I don't know if it's a channel-wide thing or she keeps it low-key. I don't know yet. She might not even know yet. I definitely said, I'm going to join you. I want to read Dune, and I will be starting at book 1 again because book 1 has been a while now. Right next to Dune has to come Foundation. This is a series that I just started not too long ago when I finished the first trilogy, but there are so much more books in this series. So the main Foundation series has 2 more books afterwards and then 2 prequels, and I definitely want to read those. But then the story itself continues as part of the Empire series and as part of the iRobot series. And since I enjoyed Asimov's writing style so much, I want to see how much of those series I can read as well. I think the recommended reading order is to read Foundation, the trilogy first, then the 2 sequels, then the 2 prequels, and then continue with either iRobot or Empire, like either one and then the other. And that's very likely the order that I'm going to go with. Hopping over to fantasy, one series that I want to continue definitely, and there are enough books to do that for the next couple of years, is the Drizzt series, or Forgotten Realms series is I think what the entire thing is called. I read the first trilogy in 2020 and 2021, early 2021, and then for whatever reason I never continued in 2021. And that's not good because it's actually a really fun series. And yeah, I just want to continue reading that and get a book in every now and then. The nice thing about those, they're really short. And they are within trilogies. So while it is, 30 something books, the total thing, you can split them up in those trilogies. Like you have the individual story arcs within individual trilogies, which makes the reading much easier. And the other fantasy series that I want to continue, it's a bit shorter one, is, I actually don't know what the series is called, but the main book is A Master of Jinn. And I read the first short story in the middle of the year, and it was actually really good. I enjoyed the writing style, and I have a thing, it looks like, for Middle Eastern inspired fantasy, although this is more an urban fantasy. I liked the writing style. I liked the whole aspect around the jinns. And that short story got me excited enough that I want to read the other short story, the novella, and then the actual novel of P. Jelly Clark. All right, new series. There's so much I'm excited about. BookTube and being on Discord and supporting YouTubers or booktubers on their Patreon and then getting to talk with them during live streams and whatnot is really dangerous for your TBR. Because there's so many amazing people out there that read so many amazing books that get me so hyped up about those different series that, yeah, well, I mean, you'll see in a minute what that means. So there's a lot of really good stuff here on that list. There are so many things that I want to read essentially now, all at the same time, just so I can finally read it, which is obviously not feasible. We're starting new series with the Prince of Nothing trilogy, based on how Jimmy Nuts described that to me. It's like, oh yeah, this is going something I like. He basically said it's different, quirky. There are religion, politics, and philosophy elements in there. And that is a combination that sounds so good because that's the stuff I like. I love discussion about politics and religion. I love the philosophy about how the world should be in some areas. And it sounded a little bit like a fantasy version of Dune. So yeah, we will see. But I have all 3 books here. Prince of Nothing, the first book, is already on my January TBR, and I'm really excited to dive into that series. Directly followed by Malazan. By the way, is it Malazan or Malazan? I don't know. Sometimes in my head it's this way, then the other way. Who knows? But that's very similar. And I've talked about that before in my 5 very long series that I really want to read. What I'm really interested in about Malazan is that cultural aspect. From what I keep hearing, every time someone explains on how the different books are structured, I'm getting so excited about it and I want to dive in immediately. I have the books here, all of them, and I'm so excited to finally start with that. I know I wanted to do that in 2021 already, but then other things, just got in the way. So no, I'm starting. 2022 is the year of Malazan for me. Another series for me is The Chorus of Dragons by Jen Lyons. That is a pure cover excitement for me. I actually have no clue what this series is about. I know there are 4 out of the 5 books already out there, and I want to at least get started in 2022. So maybe it's more towards the later end of the year that I'm going to start with that one, because I think book 5 either comes out late 2022 or 2023. I'm not 100% sure right now, but that is a pure cover thing. I mean, the dragon, the octopus, even book 5, they just look all amazing from a cover perspective, and I'm getting some Asian vibes from the story itself and from the description on the back. Again, I don't really know what it is about, but sometimes that's the excitement for me for a book. Sometimes the less you know going into a book or into a series, I find creates actually much more engagement and much more excitement and much more joy while reading it. Similar to Prince of Nothing is going to be Empire of Silence. That is also a series that I wanted to start in 2021 because everybody kept talking about it and how amazing it is. A very political intrigue-driven sci-fi, and I love a good political intrigue. Hello. Also, they are chunky. That's scary, but that's all right. But I've heard so many people talking about this series, and so many people said it's brilliant. It is just fantastic on how everything evolves throughout the series. Also a series that I don't think is finished quite yet, but that's okay. I mean, 2022 is a long year, and I need stuff for the second half of the year as well. Another series falls more into the urban fantasy category, and that is actually a Kindle book of mine. You know how everybody's talking about Dresden on BookTube? And one day after I heard, the nth review of Dresden, I was looking into the series, I was reading reviews, and I was like, I just don't think it is for me. But there was something around it that felt familiar and that I thought, you know what, in the past you've read very similar books. So I looked up what I used to read, which was Kelly Armstrong's, I will not get what that series is called right now, but it's very similar. It's urban fantasy, just a female detective that you're following around. Is it even a detective? I don't know. So while I was looking through those, I found another series called Sandman Slim. And I've never heard anyone talk about that. And I read the description. I was like, okay, that sounds really cool. Sounds similar to the Dresden Files. I hope it's with less issues that people say the Dresden Files have when it comes to how women are treated, and what a macho type of guy he is. I hope it's different in that one, but I definitely at least want to read the first book and see what it is and if this is something that I would enjoy. Next up, Trudy Kennevan's Millennium Rule. I just talked about her in my auto by author video, and now I have to read the last series from her. That's really the reason why she's on the list, because I finally have to read that last series from her. The next series is one where I'm not sure about if I'm going to like it. I'm very honest. and it's a FOMO type read, fear of missing out. It's the Farseer trilogy. I've never read anything by Robin Hobb, and I'm very torn on that series. When I heard about it the very first time, I listened to a review of Assassin's Apprentice. I was like, no, this is not going to be something I'm going to enjoy, just based on what people were saying about the pace and the unlikable character and just the way people were talking about it. I was thinking, I don't think it's the right series for me. But the longer I was on BookTube, and I'm telling you, Discords and those Patreon chats are the worst. No, they're not. They're awesome, but they're not great for, keeping your TBR coordinated. And people kept just saying how amazing it is and how much better it gets as the series continues. And then they were saying things about the series where it's like, oh, maybe I do like it because now you're talking about things that I actually enjoy about fantasy. Definitely not a 5-star prediction read, but something that I'm going to try. And then eventually, and that is a big maybe if I'm going to do that. I talked about Marcus Heights before. And there's this one series that I really, really enjoy from him that unfortunately was not translated, so it's only available in German. And the series is called Uldart, and it's a story arc in 6 books, which is called The Old Times, and then there is a story arc in 3 books, which is called The New Times. And I've read that years ago, at least 10, I would assume, and I loved it. That's something that I definitely would consider grimdark, with morally gray characters and characters struggling making the right decisions. And I remember loving it so much that I actually kind of want to reread it. But given that I have all the other big series on my radar, I don't know if this is going to be one that I'm going to add. And the last mention that I want to make in the new series category are the current SPFBO semi-finalists. Well, not all 10 of them, but 4 of them actually sound really interesting, and they are all first in a series. So, well, great. Thank you. Thank you, SPFPO. They all sound really interesting. There's so many great books in general in that category. There are so many amazing sounding books on the list, not just for this year, but I went through all the years. Well, not all of them quite yet. I had to stop at one point. But I went through a couple of the last years. Unbelievable how many good books there are. Man, this is a gold mine. And I have a feeling that I'm going to find a lot of books that I'm going to like a lot better than some of the traditional published fantasy books that are out there right now. Let's get into the last category. Finally, you're 2/3 done. No, I don't know how much my babbling was going to continue, but man. Last category, standalones. Yes, that's what we need because we have so many long series. I need to break them up. I'm pretty sure I will not be able to read Malazan one book after another and binge that whole thing. Same with Robin Hobb. Same with Uldart from Marcus Heights. Same with Empire of Silence and Prince of Nothing. I highly doubt that I'm going to be able to binge all of those because those are some pretty heavy series. Starting with some classic sci-fi. I seem to like it. Every classic sci-fi that I've touched so far has been gold. So we'll continue with that. Starting with Babel 17, which is a really short one. And again, something I don't know much about. I saw it on sale one day. It's actually a Kindle book. Woohoo! And it sounded good. It falls into that classic sci-fi category, kind of. So I have to read it. Very similar to Neuromancer, although Neuromancer is something that I've heard before. And I kind of have an idea of what it has to do with. And as I said in my last video, it's, it was the inspiration for the Matrix movies. So I kind of have an idea, and I'm really excited to actually read that book as well. And the third one in the classic sci-fi category has to be Brave New World. I've never read it. I don't know why. Well, I didn't read sci-fi till about a year ago, so that's probably why. So yeah, Brave New World has to be the next one. And that's actually a recommendation that comes from my brother. He loves a lot of, he reads, he's young, he's in his mid-20s, so he has to read all the big books. But he really loved that one. Based on what he told me about it, I was like, yeah, why did I not read this yet? That is totally the stuff that I like. To add a little bit fantasy-ish to that, maybe I think is a more dark fantasy. Is that what the category is called? Anyway, Gaiman, Neil Gaiman. Brilliant author. I read Oceans at the End of the Lane last year and I loved it. This book is just so weird in a good way. And I I don't even know. I mean, there were so many creepy, weird things happening in the book. It's like, okay, if your books are like that, dude, I have to read more of you. So I got Neverwhere and Stardust. And those are the two that I definitely want to read in 2022. I want to stay away from American Gods and the other one, what is it, Good Omens? Because it feels like when you hear about Gaiman, that those are the two big ones that people know about. And also those are the two that people usually say are not that great. And it seems to be very split between people who like American Gods but do not like his other works, and then the other way around, who love his other works but hate American God. Well, hate, quote unquote, don't like it. Since I love Oceans at the End of the Lane, I'm trying to stay away from American Gods for now. And then finally, you're at the last book right now for this video. My editing self is going to have so much fun with me. Is Ka, which is a book that I got in the book box. And I mean, frankly, there are a lot more books in the book box that I really want to read in 2022. But Ka's, I think, the one that I'm most interested in and definitely want to make it a priority to get this done. First of all, because the book box was fun and I don't want to have it to be just, having the books laying around here. I really want to focus and get those books read. Ka's the one that I'm really excited about because it has this mythical elements, Nordic aspect, and then crows are just interesting birds. They have so many stories associated with them that makes them actually really interesting characters in fantasy books, and I'm really curious to see how that is solved there. And I'm just now realizing this was actually just 21 books. I must have miscounted before. So here's the question for you. What is your most anticipated book for 2022? Already published, not anticipated release. We talk about that next week. But what is a book that you're really excited to read in 2022? Because maybe that has to be my book number 22 on my list. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you get notified about new videos that are coming out, especially if you're interested to hear more about my 2022 preview and 2021 review. This is getting really complicated. And then I hope you have a great rest of your day. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas if you're celebrating. Happy Kwanzaa if you're celebrating. And then I hope I see you soon with my next video. Bye.